Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Double 18 podcast on this Monday night, November 11th, 2024. I'm your host, Stephen Nagishi, and as always, with me is my colleague from the Awful Announcing, the associate editor. It is Ken Fang. And Ken, good evening. And it's been a while since we last did our show together. It's been maybe about almost a 2-week gap in between there. And we certainly have to talk about, the World Series that ended, a couple of weeks ago. The Dodgers won the game 4-1. We'll talk about the game and how it ended and what's in store for both teams, as well as the Major League Baseball off season as well. But as always, we like to start off with the NFL. I believe yesterday was week 10 of the NFL season. And I actually went to the Chicago Bears game against the New England Patriots. And I got to tell you, the game was a complete disaster. Unfortunately, the game was a 19-3 win by the Patriots. The score just doesn't do justice on just how bad the Bears play from start to finish. And I want to send a special shout out to my friend Rashab Shakiri. He is the Bears YouTuber that I do a live stream with on this channel frequently. The Windy City Productions is his YouTube channel. I didn't force him, but we have been discussing. I was wanting to come back to Chicago and wanted to attend the game, and I talked to Rashab about attending since he lives out in the suburb of Chicago. And we discussed about the tickets. It was about $180 in the section 355, which was about, I believe, the north end zone. It was pretty good. I won't lie to you. The view was beautiful. We saw the field from both end zones, and it was very good. It was $250 in total because of all the fees and adages and stuff like that, which kind of what you kind of expected in this day and age, no matter which ticketing service you use. So we still ended up paying. I stayed in the downtown area because it was only for one day. So it was raining pretty hard on Saturday. And thankfully it cleared up Sunday. We walked to we took a bus from the Millennium Park parking spot in the Illinois school bus, the yellow school bus. It kind of felt really cramped, and it was kind of funny driving in the school bus for the first time in who knows how long. But we got to the stadium, and unfortunately, there was about 20-mile-an-hour wind gusts that we had to deal with throughout the day because the wind was actually hitting us, I believe. So you say against it. The wind was against us the whole time. There was a brief period where the wind stopped, and then the clouds came over, and we thought that we were going to be hit with a massive rain of sorts. But thankfully, it didn't happen. The game as the game kind of went on, I felt the energy inside the stadium really became, like a hostile. The 3 and outs, Caleb Williams looking very, very timid and just wasn't hitting any receivers and was just continuing to get sack after sack in each drive that ended up, fourth down. And the boos just got really louder and louder. And as the game kind of went on, the angry, really became apathy, which unfortunately it is something that us Bears fans have really, really gotten used to, in the past years. And, what was supposed to be a very, very promising season, has become complete, a train wreck right now. Not too long ago, this team looked really, really competent and actually looked exciting 3 weeks ago or so when they beat the Jaguars in London. And then Ironically, a bye week happened, and then from that point on, just everything is just completely collapsed. We know the Washington Hail Mary game, the lack of accountability displayed by Matt Eberflus, and in particular about the Hail Mary, and then the one play before, we discussed it a couple of weeks ago, where they gave up an easy 12, 13-yard pass on the sideline, which Matt Eberflus's comment was it didn't matter at all. And he doubled down on those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And that from that point on, just everything just been complete nosedive, because the players are openly speaking out against the coaching staff, the lack of accountability, the practices. Now we're starting to hear so much about the practices, that the players aren't taking practices very, very seriously, or not doing enough. And Matt Eberflus himself has kind of indicated that there's going to be some changes, starting with the play calling. Shane Waldron was basically sitting down, with a bit of a space between him and Caleb Williams. I think people saw a little bit of that, sitting next to each other, where, Waldron was smiling, where Caleb was like looking straight into the field and not even paying attention to Waldron. The vibes are pretty bad. Even Courtney Cronin spoke about in her X about, from her vantage point from the press box, there are a lot of players who are just not disinterested or just not motivated, and I clearly saw that throughout the game. And first of all, for the record, I don't regret going to the game. I don't regret spending my hard-earned money to go see a game. I wish the results were a little different. There's no question about that. It would have been a much more pleasant experience. And but I realize that this Bears season now is pretty much over. And again, I can't stress this enough about players speaking out about the coaches' lack of accountability. And now we're hearing stories about, players are openly criticizing about the, calling out each other in regards to the practices, or some of the guys are not taking practices very, very seriously or intensely. So, this is, when things are starting to, go off rail now. And, with the Packers coming into town this week, which begins the gauntlet of NFC North games, which the Bears are, 2-10 in the first 2 years under Matt Eberflus's tenure. And I'm really, really afraid that what is about to happen here. I'm going to play a clip of the what Jalen Johnson, who does his regular appearances on 670 Score, and I really appreciate him taking ownership and becoming a team leader and calling out people like this. And I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I'm going to play a clip of the what Jalen has to say about the what's going on inside the locker room.
There are people on this team that some people work harder than others. It's just human nature, right?
Yeah, I would say that's not really even a question.
Yeah, it's just what happens. So how can you change that? What do you do to possibly change that, if you can do anything as a player in that regard?
What can I do to possibly change that? Honestly, I've been fighting myself with this question for a long time. Because I've thought about it, I've been asked the question, and I think honestly for me, part of me says that there's nothing you can do, and a part of me says that there's something that you can do. Because I'm gonna use your office, for example. I'm gonna use you and Lauren. So if you're used to getting extra or staying after your designated hours, and you go over and you see how you can do something better, and you work at it, and you start getting results. And then Lauren sees you, and he still just kind of lollygags, like, hey, all right, I'm gonna see you later, and then he leaves. And it's like you do that for a long time, and you see somebody see you getting work, and it's like at some point you kind of, hey, whatever you want to work out, yeah. And then some guys will leave, or he'll ask you, hey, what is it that you do? And you'll tell him, and then he doesn't do it. So it's like at a certain point, it's like you kind of think in your head like maybe he just don't give a damn how I give a damn. And it's like at the end of the day, that's okay. But how can you can't necessarily change somebody's want to or hunger to do something, to be uncomfortable. I mean, there's times where he can be, oh, well, I gotta pick my daughter from school. It's like, yeah, you gotta pick your daughter from school, but sometimes, man, you gotta ask somebody else to pick your daughter up from school so you can get this dang work. So our radio show can be the best that it can be. But I feel like it's oftentimes there's always a rhyme or reason or something better to do. And those opportunities are being taken, and then it's, oh, well, we all want to win. No, we all don't want to win at the same level. Like we all don't want to grow this radio show at the same level, because clearly there's not a level of application that has been going on. So, I mean, you can tell somebody to do it. I mean, like they say, you can take the horse to the well, but you can't make him drink. At the end of the day, we got to have a lot of guys that are thirsty. And I feel like there's definitely an area of improvement for everybody, players, coaches.
So there you have it. Listen, it is a pretty damning statement, you know, and you know, I'm sure Ken, you've covered your share of sports, and you've seen a lot of locker rooms, or the culture that is healthy, as well as the ones that are toxic, and that is completely broken right now. And this one, I think. It's right up there, and this is like the what's going on in Chicago the last couple of weeks, where Jalen Johnson is speaking out. DJ Moore, who does the appearances on same station 670 The Score the day after the game, Monday or Friday, or something like that, around 8:00 locally, with the Mully and Haw show. DJ Moore has also been, been openly, speaking out and being critical as well. His body language and his obviously has been questioned throughout the game regularly as well. Unfortunately, the players and their leadership council called Komet, DJ Moore, Mercedes Lewis. They've also been calling out the embattled offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, to, coach them up more. But unfortunately, week 9, I think it's safe to say Shane Waldron is done as an offensive coordinator. I just don't understand why, listening to Matt Eberflus' press conference today. It was just basically another a serving of word salad and buzzwords about process and communications, et cetera, that he's like hanging on to dear life. He's definitely doing all he can, but the damage is done. The levee is completely broken. The water has completely overflown. The flooded. It's just a disaster. Even if you replace Shane Waldron, you're firing your second offensive coordinator in less than a year. Luke Getsy, who was recently fired by the Las Vegas Raiders, was fired within a year now. So between that, and you had 2 coaches who was forced out because of the human resources violation last year at this time, which got a lot of national attention because it looked like FBI was getting involved, which turned out to be a false. But you had 4 or 5 different coaches under your tenure that has been either let go or has resigned. Matt Eberflus clearly has avoided accountability and responsibility for far too long, and that Washington game has completely broken because he took no accountability himself. And the players like, you know what, screw you. If you're not taking any accountability yourself seriously, why should we even listen to you? And this is where we're at right now. So,
yeah, I gotta say, Steven, I feel for you. As a Browns fan, I knowing mediocrity where I am, seeing mediocrity for the Bears, just absolutely, it's harsh to seeing the Bears reaction. I saw Harrison Graham, who covers the NFL is a Chicago Bears fan himself.
Chess Sport, I've had him on his show. Very nice, and he's a very good person. Yeah, love him.
Yeah,
too.
And the fact is, he's saying that that he declared the press conference a total failure today. Matt
It was,
Eberflus's
yes.
press conference, just talking, not really, as you mentioned, taking any accountability. I think that he's lost the team. I have to say that. It really seems to me that he has lost the team, and they seem that the players, especially after last week, especially after not being prepared on the Hail Mary, Stephen. Even saying that the pass before, not covering the sideline and saying that's not really the play that mattered. The play that mattered was covering. That's not true, because we all know you get an extra 15 yards to throw that Jaden Daniels can throw down the field. If you cover that pass and make him throw in the middle of the field, you waste time and you force you force a longer throw. So
Exactly.
And you run up. So that, don't tell me that doesn't matter. That was just I'm not even a Bears fan, but even that made me blow up. So and then this week, and I usually would have an eye on because knowing that we're going to talk about the Bears, I'll usually have the Bears game in the background thanks to Sunday Ticket along, and then maybe in a multi-box. But I just didn't pay attention because it just the Patriots just seem to have this game in hand. And this is a team, as we all know, is on the Bears level. It shouldn't be on the Bears level. It should not be, to be honest with you. There's just a team that came into the game with just 2 wins, Stephen. A coach that's also in shambles, and a coaching situation and a defense that I would also have to say similarly to Matt Eberflus, because this is a team that really, to be honest with you, doesn't believe in his coach. So I for them to come in to Chicago, and they didn't, to be honest with you, it didn't seem to me that they had a great offensive attack either. They were just kicking field goals. And there was chances for the Bears to win this game, but there was no it didn't look like there was any imagination on offense for your team. There was no imagination for the Patriots. There, Drake May was just dinking and dunking down the field, and they were just for field goals. So that's why thus the 19-3 score. But I was just not interested in the game. My Browns weren't playing because there was a bye. So I basically paid more attention to Red Zone. And the Kansas City-Denver game, I thought that Denver was going to win that game. We'll talk more about that later. But I got to say, Stephen, for a Bears franchise, which has gone through quarterbacks left and right, hasn't found the right coach. You had Matt Nagy, who, when we started this show, you were railing against Matt Nagy. I think you rail more now against Matt Eberflus than you ever have against Matt Nagy, and for good reason. This is a team right now, Stephen, that is in disarray. You have 2 team executives who can't do anything about the coach because Kevin Warren's more worried about getting a stadium built. And I think Ryan Poole doesn't even. I don't know what he does, to be honest with you, to Stephen. So they can't do anything about the coach. They're not going to fire the coach mid-season, even though they should. Yeah. And this is an organization. The McCaskies. They've had a great long history in owning the franchise, but right now, I don't know where your franchise is at. I really don't, because to be honest with you, Stephen, this is the NFL needs Chicago to do well and have a great market. But you can see, Jeff Agrest, who's my friend from the Chicago Sun-Times, noted that the ratings for this game was down again. So there's been the last 3 weeks of ratings for the Fox station, which has carried the last 3 games for the NFL, for the Bears, have seen their ratings go down. That's not very good. And Chicago, I think, is the 3rd highest market in the country. The NFL wants to have the Bears do well. You can't have this type of. It's great to have the Packers do well because the Packers have a national following, but the Bears. You want the Bears, especially in the Chicago market, to do well. You can't have them floundering like this. And I don't think the McCaskies seem to know that. I don't think that, when you have 2 executives, one who doesn't even is focusing on the team, is focusing on outside matters like getting a stadium built. And right now, with the team playing so well, not playing very well, I don't think that stadium is going to get built. I don't know what this team. You're having too much layers of not caring about the on the field product while you're caring more about the off the field product and trying to fleece taxpayers. So I think that's what fans are seeing, and as you mentioned, you're going to get a lot of apathy on the field in the stadium, like you had yesterday, as you saw at Soldier Field, Stephen.
Right. Let me try and explain in detail about the situation that the Bears are in right now. For the second consecutive week in a row, Caleb Williams were in the game when the results were all but determined. He almost got seriously hurt in the Arizona game on the very next to last play, where he was sacked and he looked like he was limping. Thankfully, the injury wasn't serious, and he was never on the injury list throughout this past week. But he took 9 sacks this past week. The offensive line was in complete shambles, missing 3 starters. And this is the same general manager, Ryan Poles, touted about the depth of the offensive line, which is an absolute garbage and a joke right now, because they can't save, Caleb Williams healthy. And obviously the question now is, what more do you want to see from this head coach? You're disregarding the health of your franchise quarterback, and it's quite clear that he lacks situational awareness, on top of the fact that he lacks accountability for himself. The players see these things, and these things keep accumulating, all against the Matt Eberflus and his coaching staff. That the players don't back him up. They have been given every opportunity to, ask questions about if he has lost the locker room, or, if the players gave up on him. And they always give a non-committal answer like, I don't know, or I'm not going to go there, or I'm not going to answer that. That's a equivalent of saying yes without really saying yes, in my opinion, And the Bears made the same mistake with Trubisky pairing with John Fox, fired the next year. Got Matt Nagy, and then Matt Nagy in his final year got Justin Fields, and obviously in his professional debut was sacked 9 times by your Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, if I remember, which also spelled, or I should say, marked the beginning of the end of Matt Nagy. And now we hired a substandard defensive coordinator in Matt Eberflus, and he has absolutely done nothing of note. That makes me think that he is deserving another opportunity. If you fire Shane Waldron, which would be his second offensive coordinator within a year, you're basically giving up. There's no way, 0% chance that you're coming back. You're just basically desperately trying to save your own job. And yet the offensive coordinator that you hired continues to regress and does nothing to help out Caleb Williams. And when it comes to, offensively, I saw no receiver open yesterday. They were all bunched up in the same formation within 4 to 5 yards of each other, running the same route concept. And how the hell do you expect somebody like Caleb to, even excel in a position like this? The problem is we ignored the offensive line so badly. And then drafting a quarterback and getting a couple of nice receivers was going to fix everything. And now it's completely blown up in Ryan Poles' face. And I've been wondering about this hiring from the very beginning, because Trace Armstrong, the former Bear defensive end, and now formerly of NFLPA president, he also represents a lot of coaches across the league. And Eberflus, Poles, and Shane Waldron all are represented by Armstrong himself. And obviously this is a problem with the nepotism culture of sorts that the Bears are paying right now. I do believe that the Armstrong represents far more great coaches out there. And then the Bears just keeps on hiring the wrong people, unfortunately, whether it's because they hired the wrong people to do the search for them, or maybe they're just basically skimping on money, trying to avoid paying top-rated coaches like they should be, unfortunately. So everything is just just a total disaster right now. And Justin Fields, unfortunately, did say something about it has something to do with the coaching last year. I remember, he said it against the game against Tampa. He did openly complain about it, and unfortunately, Justin Fields is, sitting in a bench in Pittsburgh, but his situation is a lot better than what he dealt with in Chicago, where he was scapegoated. And I'll be let me just say about this Field versus Williams whole thing right now. I am not giving up on Caleb Williams, and that I think this was the right move. Yeah, and it's just that the team made a colossal blunder and not fixing or not doing enough when it comes to the offensive lineman. Ironically, Ryan Poles himself was a former offensive lineman at Boston College. So, he saw the Chiefs fix the offensive line, the year after they got their butts kicked in Tampa Bay against the Bucs in the Super Bowl, where, Patrick Mahomes chased and harassed the entire game, which is why the Chiefs lost that game and why they're currently have been pretty unstoppable right now with their Super Bowl runs. So I just hope that Ryan Poles, if he does stay, learns from his mistakes. But at the same time, if Ryan Poles is out because Kevin Warren hired neither man and want to start over, I get it. I'm not going to cry over, Ryan Poles losing his job. And I'm certainly going to, celebrate when, Matt Eberflus loses his job. And, right. and I know this sounds callous, but the day when Virginia McCaskey passes away, hopefully peacefully, she's 101 right now, age-wise. Mm-hmm. I don't know about myself, but I know there will be a lot of Bears fans across the country and around the world who will celebrate the eventual demise of Virginia McCaskey, because George McCaskey is ill-equipped to to lead this franchise, and quite frankly, I think he's basically also counting down the days of her death so that Bears can be sold off, and rather than having to do with inheritance tax or so. This is where we are right now, Ken, and it's unfortunate, but I won't regret my decision to go. I'm thankful that I had Rashad Shakiri with me, mm-hmm. and I do feel bad that he had to witness this crap show, and he was pretty angry about it on his video late last night. So it is what it is. But I appreciate you giving me time to rant, and I know what it feels like to be a Browns fan, just like you. You've always had to deal with.
I don't blame you for being angry, Stephen. We had awful announcing. We had we covered one call, I think, to 670 The Score yesterday about one of the callers being extremely angry. We shared that video, and then of course
I think I was the first caller. Actually, I called in the day immediately after the show, after the game. I called in 670 The Score. I was the very first caller, and I think he was maybe the second or third caller. That the Angry Bears fan Bill, who went viral, and then was also picked up on your show. So just full disclosure there. So yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And then earlier today, when Eberflus was on the air, his call cut out, and then the host said,
my God.
He said, "Well, this is just like your offense." So,
exactly right. David Kaplan took a shot there, and it was appropriate. And I'm working on my article on Bear Goggles on today about how a coward Matt Eberflus is, in regards to the whole phone situation. I get it if people accuse the Bears for jamming the phones, or even Eberflus standing at a bad reception area on purpose. But at the same time, that he hasn't disclosed or hasn't determined the OC or how he who's going to be leading the offense at this point. Seems like a really, really coward move. And you don't need like 24 to 48 hours to determine that. You should, if you're a leader and you know that it's clearly broken, you need to make that decision right now. You don't need to do, to beat the bush. Okay. And for him to drag this decision and pretend like he's trying to do something, I think it's a cowardly move, which at least now that is something we expect from this man, because everything that he says and does is ultimately going to be met with so much disdain and anger from fans like us. So,
absolutely, Stephen. It's,
yeah.
Again, I totally don't blame you. We spent the first half of the show going over the Bears, deservedly so, because that is just a really sad situation over there. But let's move on. Let's go on to the NFL review of yesterday. The NFL had some, aside from the late window, which was absolutely horrible. We won't even mention the games that were played yesterday because they were terrible. Let's first mention this, though. Before the game in Munich yesterday, which was played in Allianz Arena between the Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants, and really, I think that violated several laws of the Geneva Convention and the Hague Convention for humanitarian and adoptive children. But anyway, the game went to overtime. The Giants won the game. But before that was announced, before that game was played, Roger Goodell announced on NFL Network that the NFL plans to play 8 international games in 2025. And this is just on the just ahead of eventually the NFL announcing they're going to go to 18 weeks and then playing 16 international games. Basically, what he said is that they're going to play I believe
now, I believe.
They played 4 this year, 3 in London and 1 in Germany.
Munich yesterday. Yeah.
Here they plan to play 4 in London, 1 in Germany, 1 in Brazil, 1 in Spain, and another in Dublin. So that would be 8 international games next year. They also plan to go to Mexico as well. So so that would be somewhere around it. So I think I said 9. I think the way I said it was 9, but it's actually going to be 8. So I think it's going to be good for the NFL. Dublin, Ireland is a market. Of course, Dublin has been the market for a college football game every season. They'll probably play it in a
week 0, as like people like to call it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's been a very successful game. The Big Ten, the ACC, we've had different. Notre Dame has played there, so I think that this is a good market for the NFL to tap into, and I think the Aviva Stadium has if that's where they're going to play, has the infrastructure and the wherewithal to host that game because they have hosted the college football game, as you mentioned, in week 0. I think it'd be a great place for them to play. Maybe I don't know who has the market for Dublin. I don't know if it's the Bears.
The Steelers might have it. Maybe
Steelers, the Steelers because of Dan Rooney. Because Dan Rooney was at one time he was the ambassador to Ireland.
President Obama there. Yes.
So I think that that would be a very great move for them. Also, as I mentioned, Mexico, which has not hosted an NFL game in a few years because as Estadio Azteca was being under renovation. The NFL would love to go back to Mexico, and I think that's going to be they're going to go back there next season. Brazil, I think they plan to play in Rio de Janeiro next season instead of Sao Paulo this season. And and so that would be interesting to see where they play there. I think London, 3 games in London, 1 game in Germany. That would take care of 4. 1 game in Spain, another in Ireland, Brazil, and Mexico. That would 8. Yeah, so that would, I think so. Those will be. I don't expect the NFL to sell those games off. They will probably disperse them amongst the regular partners, but that's something that we would look forward to, Stephen. And I know you said you lived in Germany.
Yep.
I know that you've seen the experience. It seems like the NFL, the Germans have really taken to the NFL, especially even though the game. The matchup, I joked yesterday saying that it would be nice that if certain countries could request a flex of games out of their country to help.
Yeah.
But it seemed like they really enjoyed that experience yesterday, especially in Allianz Arena in Munich.
Yeah, I lived in Germany, obviously, with the 6-hour time difference, and the game that takes place usually at noon or 1 o'clock Eastern. Noon Central. It's usually around 6 o'clock or 7 p.m. at the sports bar. A lot of expats go there and watch it. We know the old history when it comes to the NFL Europe and World League of American Football back in the day. That's also been well noted. Next year in Berlin, I think it will be at the famous Olympia Stadion, which was obviously that's the only place I can think of that holds about 70,000. Obviously, that's the place where the Olympics were taking place. It is also home the local Bundesliga club, Hertha Berlin, which is currently relegated in the second division right now.
Yeah, that's a Bundesliga 2.
Bundesliga 2. Spain, where the Bears have the marketing rights for their, there. It is likely that they're going to be playing at the newly renovated Santiago Bernabeu, which is the home of Real Madrid. Yeah, that holds about close to 85,000 people. Well, I think in a big game, of course, home of Real Madrid FC. So I think it will be very, very interesting, how, you go into a new market territory, Spain-wise, and just to see how well it is going to be represented. It's obviously American football and football, as most people like to call soccer, here in America, is a completely different sport. But the popularity of American sport, whether it's, especially basketball and hockey in some, like a cold Northern European countries, or Eastern European blocks, is undeniable. And of course, you hear it, you see it in the American TV shows, movies, and music all the time with the fashion and everything. So there's a little bit of an influence in there too. So, NFL certainly is making a gamble with 8 games overseas. You might have to certainly get up a lot early, depending on where you are living. To watch these games, especially if your team is playing overseas on Sundays. I know Brazil this year was Friday night, so that would have been a little bit more different. If you want to travel to these destinations, you're going to have to start, saving some money, starting right now if you want to go there next year. So it'll be very interesting to see, which team goes where, and obviously the schedule release is going to be very, very interesting. So look forward to the overseas game, and hopefully one of these days I get to go watch these games, especially if it involves the Bears, and hopefully the Bears will be a lot better team by next year or the year after, and hopefully with a brand new head coach or even a general manager if it's required. So there's that's how it would be very cool that there's a demand for it. I know fans hate it, but we'll see how the this international expansion will go, and if it impacts the American viewers and how they feel about it moving forward. All right, Ken, let's move over to the baseball. It's funny because the World Series is over for more than 2 weeks now, and we haven't touched on that unfortunately because of the scheduling conflicts and everything. But the Dodgers win the World Series. They beat the Yankees 4-1, and unfortunately, the game wasn't all that well. I wouldn't want to say not competitive, but the way the Dodgers dominated this series is quite something. And Ken, what are your thoughts on the overall series, the ratings, and your thoughts on two teams, and anything that stood out to you?
Well, I think Game 5, in which the Yankees went up 5-0, was a microcosm of what they've done, because it looked like they won a game in Game 4 and they had some momentum. And when you get up 5-0 in the first 3 innings, you expect to win that game. But then things just went all haywire in the 5th inning. The top of the 5th inning, Aaron Judge drops a ball, and then all of a sudden the floodgates open. Errors all over the place. The Dodgers get 3 runs quite immediately, and then Even though Shohei Ohtani really didn't have a very good series, that was due to his injury, which we'll talk about in a second. Of course, he tried to steal second in game 2 and hurt his shoulder. And then after that, he really was ineffective, striking out a lot.
I think that was game 3, I think, in New York or something like that.
Oh, game 3. Oh, no, game 2. It was game 2 because he was going to New York and they declared he was okay.
Okay. My bad then. I thought he hurt himself in New York or something like that.
No, it was game 2. So, yeah,
Okay.
he was pretty much ineffective. He couldn't swing the bat very well. It was a good thing that he wasn't in the field or pitching because definitely, you know, he was having an issue with his left arm, and then his non-throwing shoulder was hurt. So it was just really not a great series for Ohtani, and not a great postseason, to be honest with you. But he got a ring. That's all he cares about, is that, and it doesn't really matter. No one will remember that he was basically almost an automatic out from game 3 to game 5. But he was just the fact that he was being in the lineup allowed the Dodgers to, even though that he couldn't do well, allow other players like Freddie Freeman, who was the most valuable player, Mookie Betts, to do well. Of course, the pitching. Dave Roberts did a fantastic job managing his pitching staff, knowing which buttons to push. Now that he's won his second World Series, this one actually in a non-COVID year, everyone can stop talking about the fact that now that he was able to win a World Series with everybody, with the fans in the stands, not in an antiseptic environment like in 2020 when they won with no fans in the stands and having to play in a neutral environment down in Arlington. This time they got the job done, and the Los Angeles Dodgers fans got their parade. I think it was just a fantastic win for the Dodgers, and it really helped out the ratings. People were interested, as we thought they would be. It set the highest ratings of viewership for World Series dating back to when the Cubs last won it in 2016. So great numbers for the World Series and Fox. A lot of interest, and the fact is that what's interesting, Stephen, is that. Every morning I wake up to BBC Radio Live, BBC Radio 5 Live, and even their sports shows were talking about it. So that's how it shows you how big it was. The BBC, and they said, well, we don't talk about baseball, but we have to talk about it because we all know about who Shohei Ohtani is. We don't know who Aaron Judge is, and they had American journalists on to talk about it. But it was pretty interesting that to hear them talk about the World Series in the UK. But I think anyway, it was a good win for the Dodgers, and of course Ohtani is going to be there for a very long time. And with his salary deferred, it allows the Dodgers to go after some more talent, Stephen.
Right, and we'll get to that talent. Speaking of talent, in a little bit shortly. This game, I think the turning point. I think, first of all, was the Freddie Freeman's grand slam in game 1. That completely changed the momentum to the Dodgers. And you mentioned game 5. The Yankees had beaten the Dodgers, I think, 11-4 in game 4. That was a bullpen day, and the Dodgers were completely, outmatched that day. And then game 5, they jumped to the Yankees, jumped to a 5-0 lead. And then I think the calamity of errors that happened, I believe in the 5th inning or something like that, Aaron Judge, took the eyes off the ball on an easy fly ball. And then from there, Anthony Volpe made a fielder's choice to throw to third, which was not cleanly caught by third baseman. I think a lot of people also questioned that one. And then also the first base grounder that Mookie Betts hit, that Anthony Rizzo caught pretty far off, close to the far further off on the foul line, and Garrett Cole kind of froze and didn't cover the base. That was just basically kind of how the the series started to kind of unravel, and the Yankees, they had the talent. There's no question about it. And, while Judge was struggling, players like Giancarlo Stanton really pick up the slack, and he deserved to win the ALCS MVP. But Judge's slump or struggle really loomed large for the Yankees because he is certainly the face of the franchise, much like Ohtani is with the Dodgers. And neither player really stood out. Unfortunately, for perhaps for the baseball fans, but the Dodgers had had a complete team. Their pitching, their starting pitching in particular. Yoshinobu Yamamoto really came back from an injury and then really pick up the slack for the Dodgers. He beat fellow countryman Yu Darvish in Game 5 of the NL divisional series. He pitched really great against the Mets, and then he shut down the Yankees in Game 2. So for them to take first 2 in Los Angeles, and on top of Freddie Freeman's grand slam to win it in Game 1, that really was kind of like a unsurmountable lead for the Yankees to overcome, in my opinion. But overall, I think the ratings were great. Even here in America, the ratings were even bigger in Japan because
they were better than here.
Right. The game was on in the mornings. It began Friday night here, and then Saturday mornings, and then weekends, and then on the weekends, weekdays at around 9 o'clock local time in the morning. Where businessmen and people would catch the TVs in their office or on their phones. And then, in the evenings, you had the Japan series in the evening. So, baseball fans in Japan, they got the best of the both worlds. So, overall, I think it was a great series. Now comes the hard part. The Dodgers, they don't have too many free agents that they have to pursue. Maybe they might give a qualifying offer to Teoscar Hernandez. John Flaherty, who was acquired in the middle of the season, he's a free agent. He's a local guy. Will he take less money to sign with the Dodgers to win another championship, or does he want to, go for a last, big contract? We'll see. The things are even bigger. The Yankees have a bigger issue because obviously Juan Soto,
Right.
He's a free agent. The way he talked, it seems as though he really doesn't care much about the Yankees tradition and everything. Whoever pays him the most, whether it's the crosstown rival Mets, the Red Sox, or hell, even the Dodgers are apparently showing interest in Juan Soto right now. So it will be very interesting to see, how much Soto signs and how much that impacts the Yankees, whether they keep him or not, and if he leaves, how much of a hole does that leave in the Yankees? Because the Yankees are not exactly a young team, as we all know. So, Aaron Judge is getting up there in age-wise. He's going to be 33. Giancarlo Stanton is about 34, 35 next year as well. They have one legit young star in Anthony Volpe. Jason Rodriguez, I believe they spend a ton of money to sign him as a prized assignee out of Dominican. He hasn't exactly broken out yet, with the injury. So, the Yankees have to do all they can to sign Juan Soto. They need Soto more than Soto needs the Yankees. So I'm very curious to see what they do this offseason.
Right. Yeah, me too. And you mentioned Juan Soto. He's going to be can the Yankees re-sign him? They do have the revenue, but does he want to stay there? Knowing the fact that they have a lot of holes, and he saw that really Brian Cashman, sometimes he just doesn't seem to want to do anything in the trading deadline. We'll see what happens there. Teoscar Hernandez, again, you mentioned that he's a free agent. And he was a big help to the Dodgers this season. We'll see if the Dodgers decide to keep him. And we'll also, what will San Diego do? There's a lot of teams, Steven, that are going to be influenced by the fact that they no longer have the money from They won't have the money from Diamond Sports for like for instance, like the St. Louis Cardinals are not going to be coming back to their regional sports network. Cincinnati as well. So there's some teams that are not going to have the same revenue to sign players. The Dodgers remain rich because of their contract with Spectrum and to have Spectrum Sportsnet, and they still have that. Yankees are still going to do well with Yes. And also, but the Red Sox, even though they have their own regional sports network, just their ownership doesn't seem to care, and seems to be more about caring about Liverpool, their team in the English Premier League, and also the Pittsburgh Penguins, which they picked up last year. So I don't know what the Red Sox are going to do, but that's a different story for a different time. But the Dodgers, they're in the driver's seat, and with, as you mentioned, with everybody mostly coming back and everyone signed, they're going to have to think that they're going to have to be maybe a favorite again to win the World Series, to win it 2 in a row. The last team to win 2 in a row were the Yankees in the last century. So it's going to be, can they do it? They have right now. You have to think that they would be a favorites, and especially if they're able to sign some more people, which they definitely do. Because even though they would, I don't think they're. I'm not sure if they were going to be penalized under the luxury tax, Stephen. But even if I don't think they care because they have the revenue to take care of it. And I know that they have more Japanese players who wants to come over to play for Los Angeles to play with Ohtani. So that's going to be interesting to see as well.
And I'm glad you mentioned. Here's a transition for you. Speaking of the next Japanese players who wants to come, the name Roki Sasaki may not be familiar to a lot of the fans, but this is a guy that you're going to hear a lot this off season if you're a baseball fan. This is the next phenom coming to the Major League Baseball in 2025. He will be a international free agent. He'll be posted much like Shohei Ohtani was at a similar age. And this guy, I follow his career, even from afar. This guy is a phenomenal pitcher. Was born in 2001. The backstory was when he was about 9 or 10 years old, back in 2011, where he is living in northern part of Japan. If you all remember, a massive earthquake struck, washed out the town where he was. I believe, his grandfather, and he lost his father, grandparents, and his home in that terrible earthquake that happened in 2011. And and now he is one of the best pitchers in the world right now. And I'm going to play a clip if you don't mind. I hope it's not nothing of illegal substance. This is from the MLB Network describing who he is right now.
I think that's copyrighted, Stephen. I don't think we can play that. I think if it's from MLB Network, we may not be able to play that. But
okay, if it's from somebody else,
okay.
I'll avoid the big network stuff.
Okay.
I know somebody has posted like an individual video of him pitching.
Video, I can play that. Yes.
Okay, individual video of him pitching, where he is throwing at 102 miles with the wearing the Japanese uniform. So I'm going to post some of the videos here just shortly. This guy will likely dominate the free agent market. Obviously, we discussed about Juan Soto. He'll be the number one free agent in this year's market. And number two, probably more than likely, I think, it is Roki Sasaki, according to some of the, rankings. This is who Roki Sasaki is. Take a look. This is, he is, I believe, just turned 23 years old. And he's got some nasty splitters and a fastball that can go 102, and that's just an amazing pitcher there. And long-standing idea has been that because he is a Japanese, and that he's played with Ohtani and also Yu Darvish with the San Diego Padres. The Dodgers are the favorites. And I think a consensus report out of Japan is that basically, he goes to the Dodgers no matter what. And with the San Diego, probably like a distant second because, Yu Darvish's influence as an elder statesman, having pitched in the major league for quite some time and the influence he has on younger pitchers, especially, for Team Japan, with the winning the World Baseball Classic dating back to last year, where, Sasaki and Darvish and, of course, Ohtani were all teammates on that Team Japan as well. I also read a report that, the Cubs are also keeping and monitoring, and they're also like a long shot favorite because the Dodgers and the Cubs begin the 2025 MLB season in Japan.
Right.
And Jed Hoyer, the embattled president of baseball operations, have visited Japan several times, obviously to pitch Yamamoto, which obviously they were never in it, and Roki Sasaki several times. The Cubs have Seiya Suzuki and Shota Imanaga already on their roster, who have obviously are mainstays on their team. Imanaga won, I believe, 15, 16 games in his first year, which was quite an accomplishment for a pitcher who's never pitched in the major leagues and quite a older age, around 28 or 29. So that's a phenomenal accomplishment. And the Cubs are desperate to tap into the the Japanese market. Obviously, Dodgers, or even before Ohtani went to the Dodgers, the Angels were the big dog in the Japanese market. So it would be very, very interesting to see how much, who's going to get him.
Right.
With Sasaki himself, he hasn't really been well received about his decision to go to the major leagues because, first of all, he has never been able to stay all that healthy. Even when he pitches, there's a bit of a gap between his previous start and then the next starts. And then he left the Japanese Baseball MPB Players Association in trying to force his way into American League, dating back to 2023 offseason, in which the tabloids were all over this news, and there were reports that his mother was heavily influencing him in this decision, along with the Japanese marketing firm, to try and force his way out, and it never happened. And he actually eventually rejoined the team and pitched the entire 2024 season. But unfortunately, like I said, he was not quite healthy. He's a little bit on the skinnier side, and obviously with the major leagues, you're going to travel all over the country, and you play a lot longer games, obviously with the extra innings, double headers here and there. But the traveling aspect is always going to be something that, every Japanese players will run into. And of course, the cultural differences, etc. So this is going to be very interesting for Sasaki. He's not exactly leaving Japan as a hero. And, if he goes to the Dodgers, there's going to be some backlash because we know that the Dodgers have been kind of teetering on tampering with the, scouting Sasaki, and also, wanting him to openly come to the U.S. and join him. So, there's a lot of layer for, this Roki Sasaki story. So, I think he will be posted sometime in mid-December. We're going to find out a lot about his backstory and, just hype train involving Sasaki as we get closer to the, MLB signing periods, when the free agency movements starts to become fury. I think the owners' meeting, that's where it all takes place. And we're going to hear a lot about the Sasaki's, posting and stuff like that moving forward. So, if you're a baseball fan, make sure to keep an eye on Roki Sasaki, because he's going to be the next guy coming to Japan and will likely to be dominating in the major league. Maybe not immediately, but by 2026 or 27, if he's healthy, he's going to be the dominant pitcher of that of Yamamoto, or even better than that, or even Otani by then. So that's the name to remember.
Well, thank you very much about that, Stephen, and we'll look forward to hearing more about him. I have heard a lot of reporting about him, especially through Jeff Passan and the Baseball Insiders, and we look forward to hearing more about that. The baseball winter meetings will be coming up next month, I believe, so we'll be hearing a lot about that. The baseball winter meetings coming up a little bit later in December, so we'll be hearing a lot about that. MLB Network will have plenty of shows coming live. I believe they're in Nashville again. There always seem to be I don't know why they like to go to the Gaylord Center in Nashville, but that's where they're going to be. So we'll watch for that. Anyway, thank you very much for being with us for the last hour. We appreciate the 185 people who joined us tonight. We didn't have much short notice. We'll try to be on. I think do you want to try it next Sunday for Stephen? Will you be available next Sunday night, or do you want to try?
I'll be available next Sunday.
Okay.
We'll do it shortly after the game. NFL, just before maybe 7 o'clock, after 7 o'clock Eastern. So, we should have a pretty good idea about how our teams did, and then talk about the NFL and the other news that led this week. A reminder, I'm doing a live stream hopefully this Wednesday with Rashad Shakiri, who I went to the Bears game with, and we're going to have a lot to talk about, because we should know if the offensive coordinator has been changed and who it is, and what can we realistically expect this Bears team to look for the next 8 weeks, with 8 weeks left in the season. So I hope you will join out more, and then I'll make sure to post our you and I, our live stream on Sunday, hopefully, and then I will make sure to do the same for our live stream with Rashad Shakiri this Wednesday night. For Stephen Negishi. Oh, I apologize there, Ken. Go ahead.
I'm going to say I keep teasing a guest.
You've been doing that.
I think we're going to be getting. I don't know when. I'm going to say his name, because I'm going to just say it's Taylor Twellman. Okay, Taylor Twellman, who is the MLS analyst for Apple. I have been trying to get him, I think, for the last since July. Okay. I think I have been talking to the PR person. I think we're going to get him before the MLS Cup. I really think we are before the final, because he's been busy calling the games. I just want to say his name, because I know I keep saying it, and I know people saying, yeah. You've been getting a lot of good guests. We've had Anna Yurka on. We've had Amy Trask on. We've had Rowdy Gaines. Who is this? Who is this mystery guest that you keep teasing? I'll finally say it. It's Taylor Twellman. I hope we're going to get him, and we'll. I think by saying his name this time, I think we're going to be successful. So, hopefully, we'll hear something about that soon, and we'll get him, and we'll talk to him, and we'll talk to him about U.S. soccer. We'll talk to him about the Olympics,
MLS, the World Soccer, everything. Yeah,
well,
I know. I kept my mouth as long as possible, because I know you mentioned it. About his possible appearance for quite some time, so I'm glad you blurted it out. Obviously, there's no more keeping in secrets now, and I do hope that Taylor does come through. Obviously, formerly with ESPN and now with Apple,
right?
So I look forward to that, and hopefully, if I'm available, I'd love to join and get his takes on soccer, and then the future of U.S. soccer, et cetera, moving forward.
Yeah, he's also, we'll talk to one thing. He's also very passionate about his concussions and about the treatment of athletes about concussions. We'll talk to him about that as well. I'm saying it out loud because I'm tired of going back and forth with the PR person. I'm hoping by mentioning it that he'll hear this and say, oh, okay, I need to get him on Ken's show, because I'm tired of him going back and forth to me and asking me about it. So I hope that. Anyway, thank you very much for watching the AA team this week. We appreciate the 187 people who came with us on. We certainly hope that you'll be with us next Sunday after the games. We'll talk about it. I'll have NFL Red Zone on one of my televisions. I'll have the games on the other television, and we'll talk about everything. And hopefully you'll join us at that time. For Stephen Negishi, I'm Ken Fang. Stephen, any last words before we go?
No, yeah, you covered it pretty much well. Thank you very much for joining us once again. And like Ken said, we look forward to seeing you this upcoming Sunday once the football games are all final. Have a great week, everybody. And then we look forward to seeing you this upcoming Sunday. Have a great night, everybody.
Have a good week in sport, everyone. See you later.